Awesome. Thank you everyone for being here. The thing I love about this is that I'm actually in the trenches right now, door knocking. So all the stuff that I'm talking to you all about is stuff that we are doing and we are beta testing. And so the one thing I do want to express to everybody is there's no one size fits all with door knocking. You got to get out there and do it. So I'm just going to jump right into my presentation. But before I do, I'd love to get a feel for the audience. Who here is door knocking right now or wants to door knock? Okay, so I'm seeing some hands up. Awesome. I see it in the big room, so it's going to be really hard to probably give me some feedback. So I'm not going to ask for it. But the bottom line is 2024 is not the year to sit back and wait for deals to fall into your lap. If that's you, the market's going to punish you 100%. The agents who win in 2024 are going to have to be hunters and gatherers. You're going to have to create deals and match make buyers and sellers to win. If you're comfortable, it's not going to happen. So door knocking really takes the comfort out of the situation and it puts you in a situation where you're going to be able to create opportunity. Last week, I had the pleasure of hearing Ed Milet speak. And what he said was pretty mind blowing because sometimes you watch these amazing people and you think they have it all figured out. And what he said was, no one knows what's going on. No one has any idea what they're doing. The difference between winners and losers is that winners execute. And if what they do works, they keep doing it. And if what they do doesn't work, they don't do it anymore and they pivot. And so the only way to win in this industry is to execute. And what execute means is figure out how you're going to find people that want to buy or sell and get in front of them. So I had this 5 ways to create more listings through door knocking, and that all switched this morning. I kind of changed my presentation up a little bit. So what I want to do, I broke it up into 3 parts. I broke it into pro tips. I broke it into why door knocking is awesome. And then I broke it down to who can you target versus just talking about the 5 ways to door knock. So some of the pro tips, if you're thinking about door knocking or you're in the trenches right now, one of my pro tips is don't overthink it. Don't worry about what day you go. Don't worry about what time you go. You're never going to be able to accommodate everyone. So just go and be okay with the fact that you're going to suck in the beginning, but you will get better over time. The second pro tip is be consistent. Nothing works in this industry and generally in life if you're not consistent. So keep it simple. What Ryan and I have done is we've picked 2 days that we're committed to going door knocking. It's hardwired into our schedule. If you can do 3 days or more, great. It really depends on your workload and your goals, but it's got to be hardwired into your schedule and you have to commit to going no matter what. Number 3 is role play. So if you don't role play, then you're going to be practicing on the people that open the door. Now, look, if you don't role play and you practice on the people that are opening the doors, you're going to learn really quick and you're still going to grow. So it's not that bad. But for example, when Ryan and I are driving out to go door knocking one day, we just kind of have a casual conversation like, hey, what if the homeowner says yes? What would we say? What if they say no? What would we say? What if they say they already have an agent? What would we say? What if they say, um, you know, they're never moving? What would we say? So we have like 3 to 5 predictable outcomes that could come up. And so if that happens, we have a general idea of how we're going to respond. And obviously, look, they might say something that we've never planned for, at which point we usually unpack that once we leave the door and go, well, gosh, they caught us off guard. How would we handle that next time? And so again, as you go through these experiences, you learn and you grow. Number 4 pro tip is have compelling information. If you just walk up to the door and you just go, hey, I'm this area is high in demand. I'm just wondering if you've had any thoughts of moving. It's better than nothing, but you're not really adding value to this situation. So you definitely want to find a way to create value. And what I've learned is the more compelling the information is, the more confidence you will have. So for example, if you say buyers are interested in your neighborhood and it's in high demand, have you had any thoughts of selling? You might have a certain level of confidence. But if you've got a pre-approved buyer that you've been working with for 2 months and they know they want that neighborhood, and you have a piece of paper that says, this is my buyer, this is what they're looking for, you're going to have a lot more confidence when you walk up to the door because you actually have a legitimate buyer looking now versus buyers looking and there might be high demand. So whatever you have to do to create more confidence is helpful. Number 5 pro tip, find a partner. You know, real estate is a very lonely business. If you're by yourself, it's really hard to keep yourself accountable. It's really hard to self-motivate yourself. Um, I've got my own independent clients that I work with. Ryan has his own independent clients he works with. And then when we go door knocking, we just decided we're just going to split everything 50-50. And the beautiful thing about it is it keeps us accountable because some days he doesn't want to go. Some days I don't want to go, but together we always make it happen. It's a lot more fun losing and winning together. And I think too, when you have two people, it's nice because like if I'm doing most of the talking, Ryan can analyze the situation and we can unpack it. He could say like, hey, because sometimes when I start talking, I black out and I forget what I say. And so he's like, hey, you said this, or you shouldn't have done it that way, or that was a little bit too aggressive. How could we have done it differently? It's always nice to have like a partner in crime. So find somebody that's going to do it with you. It makes the process a lot better. And 50% of something is a lot better than 100% of nothing. Number 6 pro tip, don't discount affirmations. Talk to yourself as if you are a badass, right? Some of my affirmations are Ryan and I take at least $5 million listings in 2024, 2 of which are at least 10 million or more. Another one is RMG is the #1 independent brokerage in the city of Newport Beach. Another one is Ryan and I sell at least $100 million in 2024. And one of my favorite, it's super corny. It's a Tom Ferry one from like 15 years ago. It's they're home, they're happy, and they're waiting for me to knock. So every time I walk up to a door, I'm like, they're home, they're happy, they're waiting for me to knock. And it just makes me feel better. So number 7 pro tip is don't forget to ask the most important question at the very end of the conversation, which is, do you have an agent right now that's keeping you in the loop with the market? Or something like, I'll give you an example. So sometimes when we knock on doors in our farm, the knee-jerk reaction is, hey, I love it here. I'm never selling. And what I'll say is, hey, I totally get it. And I don't blame you. This is an amazing neighborhood. In fact, we've been knocking on doors for the last 2 hours, and that's what most of your neighbors are saying. Let me ask you a question, though. If life were to happen and you were forced to sell this year, do you have an agent on your speed dial that you would call that's got your back? And most of the time they go, well, no. So-and-so mails to us, and we've heard about this guy, but we don't actually have an agent we would hire. And that's my opportunity where I'm like, well, I'd love to apply for the job of at least earning your future business by keeping you in the loop, staying in touch, and being a resource for you. Would that be okay? And half the time they're like, yeah, and I can get their information. So you got to ask that question because in this business, 5% of the time you'll potentially make a deal on your very first conversation with somebody, but 95% of the time the fortune is in the follow-up. So if you don't have their contact information, then you're either going to have to resort to always knocking on their door or never following up. And that's not good. Number 8 pro tip, always have a drop off, always have something that you can give item of value, especially because most of the time people aren't going to open their doors. So if we knock on 50 doors, we usually have anywhere from 8 to 10 conversations. So we've got about a 20% open rate, but that means 80% of people are not opening their doors, and you don't want your efforts to go unnoticed. So having a drop off, a market report, even something simple like we've even taken a business card and just written, are you still considering offers on your home? If it was an expired listing. And then we just put it on their door and then we leave. Just something for them to know that we were there and maybe something that will strike up a conversation. And the number 9 pro tip, the last pro tip is you've got to have a follow-up plan. The fortune is absolutely in the follow-up. I've heard in the past, they've said things like, the average person will sign with you in 9 to 12 conversations. And most recently, I've heard it takes up to 30 touches before somebody says yes. And that's because there's just so much noise out there right now. So you've got to follow up and you've got to have a plan. So what is that going to look like? Is it going to be another door knock? Is it going to be a phone call? Is it going to be an email? Is it going to be a CMA drop off? Is it going to be a property profile drop off? Whatever the case is, you've got to figure it out and you've got to use your database and your task reminders and your scheduling reminders just as if you were prospecting, but in the door knocking world. So those are my 9 pro tips for door knocking. I want to talk about why door knocking is awesome. So this is going to be really fast. There's 5 reasons why I think door knocking is awesome. Number 1, it gives you the ability to familiarize yourself with the area. And as real estate professionals, you're probably knocking on doors in areas that you want to work. So when you're out and about on the streets, looking at the street signs, noticing different properties, seeing a home that might have deferred maintenance, seeing a listing that just came up on the market, being out in the field makes you more of an expert. So I love that. Number 2, I love the fact that it just gets me out of the office. I'm sitting in the office. We're working in Southern California, being able to go out when it's not raining and we got sun and beautiful weather. It's really nice. I see here, I'm just looking at this chat. I just noticed the chat right now. Says here, what are you including in your property profile? So basically really quick, I'm not going to go into this too far so the property profile is, I just get it from First American. That's my title officer. Whoever you guys use for title, just reach out to your title rep and say, I need a property profile. Full disclosure, our title rep prints them for us at First American. So we have it's like an 80 or I don't even know. Christy, if you're on, you can chime in and tell us how many pages it is. But basically, our title rep brings it, we hole punch it, and then we put it in a binder. And then we just put property profile for this property. It's a 1-inch binder. People aren't going to throw that away. It's all about their property. And what we've also learned is that many times these property profiles have some errors, maybe on title, maybe on the deed. So we always, when we drop it off, we're like, hey, this is information about you and your home. If you see anything on here that isn't correct, let us know. We'll have our title officer fix it for you. If you have any questions, let us know. It's just another value add. But Christy said it's anywhere from 50 to 100 pages. So, okay, going back into why door knocking is awesome. Number 3, very few agents do it. And that's, I think, the number one most important thing is most agents will just wait for deals to fall into their lap. The motivated agents will prospect, they'll lead generate, they'll make phone calls. The most motivated agents will door knock because it's scarier, right? So if you're dealing with, for example, with expireds, when I call expireds and I actually have a great conversation with somebody, I'll ask, how many phone calls did you get today? And sometimes it's upwards of 80. When I knock on doors and have a great conversation, I'm like, how many agents knocked on your door? And they're like, you're one of 2. So the thing is when you're calling and there's 79 other people calling, it is, wow, what an uphill battle to get noticed. If you're mailing stuff, good luck. There's 300 agents mailing to expired. So you're not going to be anything unless you mail them like a 3-dimensional something. But door knocking sets you apart. So I really love that because the competition is basically non-existent. Number 4, I love this. Why I love door knocking. It's really hard for people to be mean to your face. Like, it's so easy for you to call an expired and for them to go, I'm so sick and tired of you agents calling me, take me off your list and blah, blah, blah. But when you're face to face, they're super nice. Ryan and I have had amazing experiences with expireds and just door knocking in general. Most people are very pleasant. And number 5, and I think this is kind of a sleeper, is that you get 100% communication. So who here has heard communication is broken up into 3 parts? Body language is 55%, tonality is 38%, and then the words you say are 7%. So when you're texting, you're only communicating at a 7%. When you're on the phone, you're communicating at like 45%. If your tonality is right, which, news alert, most agents don't have the appropriate tonality. So that's not doing you any good anything. But then if you're in front of them belly to belly, they get to see your body language. And again, let's go back to the pro tip. In the beginning, you're going to suck. You're going to feel uncomfortable. But as you do it more, you're going to get better. As the information you have is more compelling, you're going to have more confidence. And when you have more confidence and you have more experience, your body language, your tonality, and the words you say are going to be in alignment, and you're going to have a much better experience. That all comes with consistency and practice. So we've talked about the pro tips around door knocking, what you should do, just get out there and do it. We've talked about why door knocking is awesome. So now I want to spend some time talking about who you can target and what you can say. I've got about 13 minutes left. We might go a little bit over, and I'm going to go pretty quick. I'm happy to answer questions. I can, you can email me, you can call me, we can chat about it. If you are committed to door knocking, I'm happy to help. The very first avatar that you can focus on right now is you can layer it on top of your direct mail if you're farming. If you're not farming, then start a farm, right? And it doesn't have to be direct mail. Your farm can begin by door knocking. When I first started, I didn't have a budget for mailers. I didn't have a budget for postage. So what I would do is I'd print out 200 flyers. I picked a 200 home farm. I printed 200 flyers that I made personally. Now we have Canva and amazing people like Emily that can potentially help you guys. And I would do door hangers and I would knock and I would do that. So it doesn't matter if you have a farm or if you want to start a farm, pick an area that you want to do business in and start knocking on doors. Putting a face to the name is critical. Now, here's one thing that we do when we first started knocking in our farm area, when we didn't have a lot of business, was number one, we're not knocking to just get listings. We're really knocking to learn about the people that live there, build rapport, and offer value. So if the conversation leads to the real estate process, awesome. But a lot of times we would just knock on doors and say, hi, my name's Robert. I'm here with my partner, Ryan. We actually mail to you. I'm not sure if this logo looks familiar. And that was always a way to kind of anchor an emotion. And sometimes people would be like, oh, I get so much mail. I don't even know. And we'd be like, yeah, we totally get it. It's craziness. You're probably getting tons of mail. Or if they said something like, oh, yeah, that logo that looks familiar, we'd say, oh, awesome. Well, we're the guys behind all that. And we're just here. We just want to learn, is there anything that we can help you with when it comes to the real estate market? And a lot of times they'd say, no, I'm never moving. And it's like, okay, cool. One of the pieces we're never moving, we're never moving, we're never moving so many times that we actually made a piece that was based on, it said, what can Robert and Ryan do for you above and beyond helping you sell? And every time they go, we're not moving, we're like, we actually had a feeling you were going to say that. So we wanted to drop this off. This actually talks about things that we can do that don't involve you moving. And they're like, oh, what? Really? Yeah. We want to help you improve your quality of life while you live here because we know most people that are here don't want to move. And what it does is it gives us an opportunity to get to know each other and offer some value so that if life happens and you have to move, then you already have a relationship with a real estate agent. Is it cool if we drop this off? And they're like, oh, yeah, absolutely. And it would just talk about things that we could do above and beyond helping people sell. So I actually want to talk to you about those five. We had five things. The first one was market data and trends. So if they want to know about the market, we got their back. If they want an on-demand evaluation, or in our world, a CMA, or equity report. The third thing was referrals to vendors. The fourth was a design consultation. And the reason why that was really popular was because a lot of people we would talk to would say something like, well, I wouldn't mind selling, but what I want to buy doesn't exist. And we really want to move from this 4-bedroom to this 5-bedroom. So what we've decided to do is put bunk beds in this room or rearrange the house to do this. And so what we would offer is say, hey, well, let us have our designer come by and give you tips on how you can maximize your space. Since you're not in the position to move, we want to help you find ways to have a higher quality of life while you live in the home that doesn't necessarily fit your needs the way you want it to fit your needs. And then the fifth value was a loan review. So that was really just like, if you want to refinance or if you want to make sure you have the best rate, we can refer you to lenders that can help you with that. So that was a big hit, and we do that constantly. So when we're just knocking on doors in our farm area, it's what can we do above and beyond helping you sell, because we know most people didn't want to sell, or at least that's what they would say. And then on the back of that piece, we had a QR code to our home bot. And we basically said, if you ever want to sign up for, we've got this amazing software called HomeBot. It sends you a monthly report that is so much more than just the value of your home. If you ever want that, click on this QR code. It's free. And if you don't find value in it, you can always unsubscribe. And we would get people to do that. So it's another way to get people into your database. The second avatar for door knocking is expired listings. So I know expired listings might seem scary to some people, but I'll say this right now. If you are looking for more listings, which everyone on this call should be looking for more listings, expired listings are the lowest hanging fruit. They are not easy because a lot of agents are targeting them and they usually expire for one reason or another. It's not always because the agent, it could be an unrealistic seller. It could be a really bad property. We don't really know. But the bottom line is if you want to have conversations with potentially motivated, low motivation to high motivation sellers, expireds are the way to go. So there are three ways we leverage door knocking when it comes to expireds. So the first one is, hi, my name is Robert. I'm with my partner Ryan here. We noticed that you had your home on the market last year and it came off the market. I haven't seen it come back on. So I'm assuming you don't want to sell, but on the off chance we have a buyer, are you considering offers right now? And that's all we want to know is, are you considering offers? Because if they are considering offers, then there's a certain amount of motivation and there's something there that we can dig into. Now, we're not going to get them to go, yeah, come on in, tell me what my home is worth, even though that has happened. Usually it doesn't. And so we've narrowed it down to four potential things they could say when we ask that question. Usually it's no. And if they say, no, we're not interested, then we'll say something like, well, have you completely given up on the idea of moving? We use the term moving, not selling, because not a lot of people get a positive emotional connection to the word selling, but moving triggers an emotional connection because moving means they start to think about their original motivation, like, oh, well, actually, yeah, we do want to move to Florida and retire, or we do want to move because we want to downsize. But selling is not a positive emotion. So have you completely given up? If they say yes, we honor it and we move on. If they say yes, they are interested in off-market offers, then we just say, tell us more, because everybody is different, right? Tell us more. You know, if you were to sell, where would you move to? What is the price you want? When the home was on the market and it expired for 5 million. What do you want now? We just get into dialogue. Can't plan for a situation like that. You just have to be able to think on your feet. The third thing they could possibly say is, I've got an agent already. At which point we'll always ask, do you have a signed contract with that agent? If they say yes, we honor it. If they say no, we say, well, the fact that you have an agent is great. We would love to offer you our opinion because we are experts when it comes to helping people sell homes that previous agents were unable to sell. And then the fourth is, let's see here. I lost my. They say yes, giving up. If they say, I got an agent, are you under contract? I can't remember the fourth one. I'm drawing a blank here. I've got an agent. Anyway, if I remember it, I'll come back to it. So that's the first way we approach expireds, is really just going up to them, knowing that they had motivation to sell at one point and trying to get curious around, do they still want to sell? Now, here's the thing where it gets a little bit more interesting. As you talk to these people, you learn a lot more. And so, for example, there's a woman that we were speaking with a couple weeks ago, and she's like, well, I do want to sell, but what I'm looking for doesn't exist. Inventory's low. I couldn't find what I was looking for. So we just took our home off the market. We didn't have any issues getting offers, but we couldn't find what we wanted. And we was like, okay, well, great. Well, what are you looking for? And what we say is here's the deal. Like, inventory is insanely low right now, but just like we're knocking on your door right now, we knock on tons of doors every week and we have a list of off-market sellers. So help us understand what you're looking for. We might be able to match make. And a lot of times we can get that information and we'll say something like, well, if we were able to find you what you were looking for, would you want us to bring it to you? Or would you want us to go to your previous agent and tell them? And 9 times out of 10, they're like, no, no, just call me directly. at which point we know now that we have permission to communicate with them. And our goal would then be to focus on finding them a property before we go back. Now, here's the best part. Finding them a property could be another expired, right? And so now we have an off-market list of people that are potentially interested in selling and also what they're looking for. So as we knock on other doors, we start now targeting expireds. And I'm going to talk about in the next round, I'll talk about targeting not door knocking for specific buyer needs. Let's see here. So that's number 2. And then number 3 for expireds is the Mosquito Joe strategy. I don't know if anybody remembers the Mosquito Joe strategy. They talked about it at the last Tom Ferry event, I think the summit. They talked about Jimmy Mackin was talking about if you go on a listing presentation, then go knock on all the other doors around the house and say, hey, I was just talking to your neighbor about the sale of their property, and I'm just wondering if I found a buyer for their property that didn't want their property but wanted to live in the neighborhood, would you be open to an off-market offer to see if you could find other people that are interested? That's what we would do. So I'll give you an example. We spoke to a woman that said that she would potentially be interested in selling her home. It was an expired, but she didn't want to list. And so what we did, Ryan and I, was we made a CMA and we went knocked on her door. And we're like, hey, we're here to drop this CMA off. You mentioned that you were potentially interested in selling, but you didn't really have a timeline. We're not sure how involved you are with staying in touch with the market, but we wanted to drop this market snapshot off so you had an idea of what the going rate was for your home. And then we could put a face to the name too, so that if you ever have any questions, you feel comfortable calling us. And then what we did was we found 3 other expireds in the same neighborhood in the similar price point and did that. Hey, Mr. Owner, we were just talking to one of your neighbors about the sale of her home, and her home is going to be priced around what your home was priced at when it came off the market. We noticed you tried to sell last year, but it didn't ever sell. And so we're going to market her home to find buyers, but not everyone's going to want her home. So if we have buyers that want to live in this neighborhood but don't want her home, would it be okay if we contacted you? Would you be interested in an off-market offer? And that's what we did. Now, 2 people didn't answer, and 1 person said that they weren't interested. But this is a numbers game. And so what I'm doing, you guys, is I'm giving you strategies and ways to leverage content and listings that aren't even yours. Like, we don't have a listing agreement signed with that woman that we talked to her about her house. We're not even close. But the way we talked about it was, hey, we were just talking to your neighbor about the sale of her home. What is that person assuming? Oh, that's the agent for that listing that's going to be coming on the market. So it gives us instant credibility. Does that make sense? Awesome. And look, just because I'm not talking about it doesn't mean there aren't a zillion other ways to create opportunity. These are just what we've been using. Okay, number 3, knocking for a specific buyer need. So how many of you right now have a buyer that's dying to buy a property, but there's nothing out on the market that you can find for them, right? Awesome. A lot of us are. So if you're just waiting for something to pop up on the MLS, then that's 50% of the work. You got to go out there and figure out, talk to your buyer. Where do you want to live? What area is most exciting to you? I want to go knock on doors. I want to find a property for you. So knocking on doors and you have a buyer, that's a great way to start stirring the pot. But here's the best part. You don't even have to have a buyer that's committed to you. And a lot of people might go, well, that's dumb. I don't want to work for somebody that's not committed to me. Here's the deal. You're not necessarily looking for a home for this buyer that's not committed to you. You're looking to have a conversation with a homeowner that might want to sell their home in the future. So for example, I have here, maybe it's somebody that you're talking to that hasn't made a commitment to you, but you want to earn their business. So you're constantly knocking on doors and finding opportunities and reaching out and going, hey, I know there's nothing on the market right now, but I spoke to 2 people yesterday that are thinking about selling their properties. Would you be interested in an off-market showing? Eventually, they're going to go, gosh, no other agent is doing this. I want to work with this person. Another strategy is maybe it's an open house lead. Or maybe it's a Google pay-per-click lead, or maybe it's a Zillow Flex lead, right? You talk to buyers all the time and they're like, this is what I'm looking for. Sometimes you call them and they go, I don't really want to meet because there's nothing out there. I was just messing around on Zillow, or I'm just looking at open houses, but we're not really motivated. Well, help me understand what you're looking for, because I understand inventory is low, but I come across off-market opportunities all the time. If I found an off-market opportunity that met your needs, would you want me to tell you about it? And most of the time they're going to go, well, yeah. Well, then tell me what you're looking for. And then boom, now you're knocking on doors and you're talking to sellers and homeowners. I've got a buyer that's looking. They want this neighborhood. There's nothing available. Have you had any thoughts of moving? And if you knock on enough doors, you're going to get leads. Um, let's see here. And then obviously the expired strategy that I talked about, right? If you talk to an expired seller and they say that they are interested in selling, but that what they wanted they couldn't find, you can go knock on doors and see if you can find it. The bottom line is it's not about the one-dimensional opportunity. You're not necessarily looking for that buyer. All you're doing is leveraging that potential buyer as an excuse to go knock on doors. Knocking on doors is going to create conversations. Conversations are going to create opportunity, and the more opportunities that you have in your pipeline, the more listings you will take. So don't look at it like checkers. You're looking at it like chess. You're not looking to help so-and-so person buy. You're looking for a reason to have a conversation with a potential seller. Okay. Um, and then the last opportunity here as we wrap it up is knock around a listing that you have, knock around a listing that your team has, knock around a listing that your brokerage has, leverage the just listed opportunity, leverage the pending opportunity, leverage the just sold opportunity, talk to neighbors, invite them to the property, ask them for their feedback, talk to them about what they love about the neighborhood, ask them if they've ever considered moving. You're just, again, you're just using this listing as a reason to say, hey, I'm not sure if you saw 123 Banana Street down the street. It just got listed. I'm actually holding it open this weekend. Did you know about it? If they say yes, great. What'd you think about it? How'd you hear about it? Are you planning on coming to the open house? If they say no, say, well, are you at all interested in the details? I'd love to share them with you. But ask the question, see if they know, see if they don't know, and keep going. But the bottom line is door knocking is an amazing way to generate opportunity. And that's what we're all looking for right now, is we're looking for more opportunity. I'll close out with this. I remember I was at an event, I was at a roadmap, and we had just sold a property in the Laguna Beach area. And I asked Tom, I said, Tom, the team just sold a property in this area. It was a very high price point. And, how do we get in front of sellers at this price point? How do we leverage this sale to get more business? And he goes, I bet you can't knock on 500 doors in the next 10 days. And I took the bet and I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. 500 doors in 10 days. But we came back to the office and we were like, oh, that's not that bad. That's 50 doors a day, which is what we're used to. But there were 3 days that we couldn't. So it ended up being like 65 doors a day. And we put a plan together. Ryan and I went out, we knocked on 65 doors for 7 days. We generated 9 multi-million dollar leads and a listing appointment. Like literally a woman invited us inside her home and said, I'd like to show you around because I was just Googling real estate agents this morning and you guys knocked on my door. So we looked at each other and we go, we would be crazy if we stopped. And then we stopped. We didn't do it for like 3 months, but we recommitted at the end of last year. And we both looked at each other and we said, look, if we're going to achieve the goals that we want to achieve in 2024, we're going to have to be in the trenches. We're going to have to do what most aren't willing to do. And we're going to have to get punched in the face a couple times to get what we want, whatever it takes. And so what I presented to you all today is exactly what I'm doing, what Ryan's doing, and what our team is doing to generate more listings, because buyers are great, but listings are what's going to help you survive this market and thrive in 2024. Does anybody have any questions they want to unmute and ask? I know we're a little bit over.
I just want to say this was really, really good. And I wish that more of my team were on here, but I'm going to be replaying it. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, look, I still get scared. I still get nervous. But, even the ones where they say no soliciting, because before I was like, I'm not going to knock on those. But now I'm like, you know what? I am going to knock on them. And the best conversations we have are the ones that say no soliciting. So be bold, do things that scare you, and just put yourself out there, because a lot of agents aren't. And I love one of the things, I don't follow David Goggins like super hardcore, but one of the things I really love that he says is there's never been an easier time to be great because our competition is so mediocre. And so take that advice, run with it, and be bold. That's what I'm telling my team this year is just be bold. Ask one more question. Knock on the door that you're scared to knock on, like make the calls you're scared to make. Do one more, prospect an extra hour, like just be bold. So I'm glad that you guys found value in it. And if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. Most of us are internal here. Or if we're on social media, my social media handle is right there, why Robert Mack, and I'm happy to help in any way I can.
Thanks, Rob.
You're welcome. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Rob.
You're welcome.